Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of geometry. By now, you should have finished your goal setting and writing down what kind of recommendations or advice you would give to a friend or a peer with communication and resilience, as well as the steps that you'll take to overcome any obstacles that you may face while doing this. So to really quickly recap, one of the things that I said is that if students, if somebody needed help with communication, I would recommend that they go back to their notes and see the model or example. And similarly, if they're struggling with resilience, I would have them go back to their notes to show the transformations using coordinates and the graph. If I were to encounter an obstacle, one of the things that I'll do is either use my notes and or ask peers for help. So our essential questions are the same as they were yesterday, and they are: how do we apply our social, emotional, and metacognitive skills to geometry, as well as what are real-world applications of congruent figures? So today what we'll be working on is goal setting, reviewing our key terms and definitions. We have a mini lesson, you'll have activity choices, and then you'll have a graded ORQ and reflection. So to review from yesterday, we have a few key terms and definitions. Our first is our pre-image and our post-image. Your pre-image is your original figure, so that's your figure before any transformations occurred. And so an example of that would be something like A, B, C, D. So you can tell that they're the pre-image because they don't have any prime symbols or any of those, I guess they're like apostrophes. Then you also have your post image. Your post image is your image after the transformation has occurred. So for example, you would have A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, or if there have been multiple transformations, you might have something like A double prime, B double prime, C double prime, D double prime. Another key term that we have is a rigid transformation. And a rigid transformation, by definition, is a transformation that preserves angle measures, side lengths, area, and perimeter. And so all of the different transformations that we've been working on are rigid transformations. So that means our translations, our rotations, and our reflections are all rigid transformations. That means that after something has undergone one or many of these rigid transformations, all of the angle measures are going to be the same, all of the side lengths are going to be the same, and the area and the perimeter will be the same as well. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds to copy down these notes if you have not done so already. Okay. Next, I'd like you to go on to page 2, and you have 3 types of transformations. And I want to give you about 30 seconds to practice what you've learned from yesterday to try to figure out what types of transformations those figures underwent. If you need help, go ahead and use your notes from the previous day. Going to give you about 15 more seconds. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at our rigid transformation review. So on the far left-hand side, as you may have figured out already, we have a translation. So the way that you can remember translation is translation has an S and an L. So it's kind of like a slide. And so other ways that you can remember that translation, like transcontinental railroad, that was a railroad that went across the United States, maybe transatlantic, so something that's going across the Atlantic Ocean. And here, the way that I recommend doing this is drawing lines to get from your pre-image to your post-image. So in this case, to get from your pre-image, let's look at coordinate A to A prime, you would go down 4 units and to the right by 9 units. And so we actually can write this in algebraic notation. So we have open parentheses, x comma y, close parentheses, translated with that arrow to x plus 9 and y minus 4. And so you can remember your x always comes before your y because it's in alphabetical order. Your x is your horizontal shift. That means your shift from left to right. And then your vertical shift, which is your up and down. So if you have a horizontal shift, if it's a plus, it's going to the right. If it's a minus, it's to the left. If you have a plus in your vertical shift, it's going up, and if you have a minus, it's going down. And the way that we write that is we have our pre-image, so triangle ABC is translated, that's our rigid transformation, 4 units down and 9 units to the right to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So your criteria for success is that you have your pre-image and your post-image, you have your labeled type of rigid transformation, and you have your directions both horizontally and vertically. Next we have in the middle, we have a rotation. The easiest way I think to do this here is to to draw a line from your vertex, in this case your E, to the origin, and from your E prime to the origin, and you can see that this is a 90-degree rotation. And so our criteria for success here are we have our pre-image and post-image, we have our rigid transformation, which is a rotation, we have our degree, which is 90 degrees, we have our direction, in this case it's clockwise, but you would write either clockwise or counterclockwise, and you'd have the point about which your figure is being rotated. In this case, it's rotated about the origin. So altogether, our sequence is triangle DEF is rotated 90 degrees clockwise about the origin to create triangle G prime, E prime, F prime. And lastly, we have a reflection. The way that you can remember this is your reflection has an FL, which is like a flip. And so in this case, you're going to have an image that is reflected over a given line that'll create an exact image. And so in this case, our line of reflection is the y-axis, and I can't show it on the computer, but basically if you were to fold the paper in half over the line of reflection and hold it up to the light, it'd be an exact match. So whenever we have our criteria for success would be our pre-image and post-image. You would say that it's a reflection, that's your rigid transformation, and then you'd also specify the line that you are reflecting it over. So in this case, your triangle DEF is reflected over the y-axis to create triangle D prime, E prime, F prime. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to write this down, so in case you haven't been writing this while I've been narrating, now is a good time to do it. Take about 5 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to be scrolling up. So now we have our mini lesson, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually practice transforming this figure, triangle ABC, in using all 3 of our rigid transformations. So let's go ahead and look at part A. Part A says to rotate triangle ABC 180 degrees about the origin to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. And we're going to plot and graph A prime, B prime, C prime, and draw an arrow to show the direction of the rotation. I think that the easiest and the best way to do this is to take my vertex, in this case A, that is closest to the origin, and draw a line. From here, I know that 180 degrees is straight, it's a straight line, so I'm going to just keep on drawing a line all the way to -1, -1. And I can see this because our original point A is at 1, 1. And we have -1, -1. And if you do better with coordinates, you can use your notes from yesterday, and basically when you have a 180-degree rotation, you keep the coordinates, but you make them all opposites. So instead of 1, 1, you have -1, -1. Next, what we want to do is we want to look at B. I know that B is 1, 2, 3, 4 units long. So I can count from -1, -1, 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left to get B prime. I'm looking at my triangle. It's an isosceles triangle. My C point has, let's see, there's a height of 3 and my base of 2 plus 2 is 4. So if I count 2 to the left, 1, 2, to get to -3, and I go 3 as my height to get to -4. So that's my negative c. Now, I can also check this, and you can check this on your paper as well. So once you go ahead and plot it, I want you to actually turn it around, and I'm going to see if I can get it to do this on my right, on my computer screen. So I'm going to rotate right. You can see that's a 90-degree rotation. And let's try it again. I'm going to rotate right again. And now I can see my triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is exactly in the same place that my original ABC is. And so I know I did it right because I did a 180-degree rotation, and it's essentially back in the same place where it started. And so I'm going to try it. I'm going to go backwards now. I'm going to go counterclockwise. So I'm going to rotate left and rotate left again. And I'm back in the same position. So I know I did that one correctly. I checked my criteria for success. I drew the part around the origin where it's being rotated, and I showed my direction. Part B says to reflect triangle A prime, B prime, C prime over the line x equals 1 to create triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So I'm first going to try to figure out what is this line x equals to 1. And one of the things that I sometimes get confused about, is it vertical, is it horizontal? And so the way that I remember this is if x equals 1, that means every single coordinate point is going to have an x coordinate of 1. So that means it could be 1, 3, it could be 1, 5, it could be 1, -2, it could be 1, -4, but it doesn't matter. My x is always 1, and I know that's going to generate a vertical line of x is equal to 1. So that's going to be my line of reflection. And I drew it there, and it says under bullet point 2 to draw the line of reflection. Okay. Now I'm going to actually reflect my figure. I find the easiest way to do that is to find the difference or the distance between each point and the line of reflection. So the distance between my A prime and the line of reflection is 2 units, 1, 2. So I'm just going to keep on going, and I'm going to go 1, 2, and that's at 3, -1. I can go back, and I know that this has a base of 4, so I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 to get my B prime, and I can count my C prime the same way as I did before, between, finding my half of the base at 2 and the height of 3, or I can count from my C prime to the line of reflection, and then my line of reflection to my C double prime. I'm checking that I used my criteria for success. I drew my line of reflection, I drew my arrow of reflection, and I'm good. So I'm going to go into part C. Part C says to translate triangle ABC using the algebraic notation x comma y, parentheses x minus 1 and y plus 5. I'm going to remind myself again, x tells us our horizontal shift left and right, y tells us our vertical shift up and down, and x minus 1 means I'm going to the left one. So I'm going to take my A double prime and move to the left one. Y plus 5 means it's going to go up, so I'm going to go up by 5 to get A triple prime. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, left one up 5 to get B prime, and left one up 5 to get C prime. And now I'll have my A triple prime, B triple prime, C triple prime. And I'm drawing my connected lines to show my translation. And so I can visually see I had an original triangle. It was reflected 180 degrees. It was then reflected over the line x equals 1, and then it was translated using the notation x minus 1 and y plus 5. So that's the end of your mini lesson. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go on to the guided and independent practice. And what guided and independent practice means is that you're working by yourself, or you're working with somebody who's sitting at your table. And you're going to choose an activity or activities that meet your learning needs. So that means maybe you're not feeling as confident, so start with the 1 feather activity. Maybe you're feeling like you are pretty confident, maybe start with the 3 feather activity. And so there are many opportunities for you to practice these skills. However, everyone is going to be doing the ORQ and the reflection, and that will be graded. So make sure that if you finish early, you try another activity so that by the time you're getting to your ORQ, you're very confident, so that you're going to get a 4 out of 4 and have 100% ORQ completion as well as your ORQ reflection. Good luck, have fun, and I will hopefully talk to you soon. Bye.